Now the 10 kings spoken of in verse 12 are the same 10 kings represented by the 10 toes of iron and clay in the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had in Daniel chapter 2. These are also represented by the 10 horns of Daniel chapter 7. Now twice in chapter 17 here in Revelation, the beast is referred to as the one who goes into perdition. He's referred to in this way in verses 8 and 11. This is a reference to the final fate of Antichrist along with the devil, that is, the dragon, and the false prophet. And we find that in Revelation chapter 20 and verse 10. This is also the fate of all of those who, like him, like Antichrist, have rejected Christ and have chosen to follow the dragon, who is, of course, Satan. Now, verse 13 illustrates just how sold out the ungodly among mankind are for the ways of the beast, and, of course, by proxy then, the ways of Satan, whether they recognize it or not. The temptations that have been rejected by the saints who resist the devil, according to James 4:7 and Job 1:1, and by the Lord Jesus himself in the wilderness when Satan tempted him, as we see in Matthew chapter 4, these temptations are fully embraced by the vast majority of the world. Sadly, this is very true today. These, during the time of the Great Tribulation, receive the mark of the beast, as we saw in Revelation chapter 13, and they follow Antichrist with their entire will, for he's promised to fulfill their wildest personal fantasies. It is a purely hedonistic society. Each individual's focus is simply now, what can I get in exchange for whatever I do? And if all a person has to do is receive a mark and blend into society in order to have their needs and desires fulfilled, more desires than needs, well then they'll take that. Of course, the sad thing is, just like many people who fall into the habit of drug use, alcoholism, sexual immorality, they find out after a time that no matter how much they get, enough is not enough. They always need more. They find they have to be satisfied with far less, and pretty soon there's never enough to satisfy the habit, and a desire becomes a severe want, and a want becomes a need, and a need becomes an obsession, and it blinds them to any truth at all. Now in verses 14 through 18, we see the fate of the harlot of Babylon. The war of the kings of verses 12 and 13 with the Lamb at Megiddo is cited both here in verse 14 and in Revelation 19:19. Their fate is sealed in a moment in Revelation 19 verses 20 and 21. The reference to those present with the Lamb at this war, who are called chosen and faithful, is also seen in Jude verses 14 and 15, and in Revelation chapter 19 verses 11 through 14. Thus all of the saints in heaven with the Lord at the time of the marriage supper of the Lamb, which is chronicled in Revelation chapter 19 verses 7 through 9, will be that army that accompanies him as he returns to the earth to execute judgment upon all of the ungodly, from the least to the greatest. And we see that taking place in Revelation 19 verses 15 through 18. By the time we reach the commentary of Revelation 19, most of that chapter is going to be a recap. And when we continue on to Revelation chapter 20, much of that chapter is going to be a recap as well, because all of these events are leading to those two conclusions. Revelation 19 is the marriage feast of the Lamb and the battle at Armageddon, and the final judgment upon the earth before the millennial kingdom. Revelation chapter 20 is the millennial kingdom, the final reward for the faithful, and the final judgment for all of the ungodly. And then it's all over. Then in chapters 21 and 22, we begin to see the full glory of God and the blessings that the faithful receive. And those are some glorious chapters. Chapters 21 and 22, you can just revel in joy in those two chapters. Now, continuing in the commentary in verses 14 through 18, as we look in verse 15, we're given the definition of the waters upon which the whore sits in Revelation 17:1. These waters represent the entirety of mankind remaining after the faithful remnant has been separated out from among them by the angel charged to do so before the ensuing battle. And we saw that in Revelation chapter 14. Interestingly enough, they shall also hate the whore and will both abandon her and will be the very instruments used to destroy her as cited in verse 16. So they will destroy the very system that they have come to love and to cherish and to serve. Now these people will all be led by the kings of the 10 kingdoms who have chosen to follow Antichrist at the last. Therefore, not only does Satan seek to destroy the Lord Jesus and his mighty works, but he also rejects and destroys the very political and religious system that Antichrist grew into full power from. He's so insanely jealous of everything but himself that he demands the destruction of any form of religion or belief system that would draw even the slightest loyalty away from him. I hear people talk about God proclaiming himself as a jealous God and how evil God is for punishing people and destroying nations and punishing nations because he's jealous and they won't worship him. They need to take a look at Satan. They need to take a look at this angel who was created in perfect beauty by a loving God and rejected everything that was righteous and holy, all because he wanted everything for himself. He wanted to be like the Most High, and he still does to this very day. And if he can't have it, he'll destroy it. If he can't have it, he'll destroy it. That's the way he works. Just as the Lord had hardened the heart of Pharaoh several times following the miracles he performed through Moses and Aaron in Exodus chapters 6 through 12, he now also hardens the hearts of the 10 kings of the earth so that they give themselves over to the beast, or Antichrist, until all the prophecies concerning the great tribulation are fulfilled.